we were at a Jeffrey Raff event together. It was a really good one. I think it was one of the last ones he did, and it was on. He had written an article about alchemical active imagination, or just really how to do active imagination, and he sort of presented it there, and we did some exercises. It's really beautiful over in Nashville. Where do you live? Do you live there in Nashville, Nick? Or no, you live north of, or a couple hours away.
Yeah, so I live in Boone, North Carolina, and actually the event that you and I both attended, unless I'm mistaken, was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So
was it?
North Carolina. Yeah. But it was still on active imagination and with Jeffrey Raff and
yes. Yeah, it was
what to do and whatnot.
Yeah, he was really on, Of course, he said that everyone would come to him and tell him about their how much they enjoyed his books, but on page 73 you said such and such, and he says I had no idea. I didn't remember what I wrote. He says I wrote it and then I kind of moved on, So anyway, yeah. Well, Nick, we are right in the process of finishing one of Charles' dreams here. Okay. So we just kind of started it last time, but if you have a dream ready, we can get to it. We, spend about probably a little over 30 minutes on each dream, I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes 45. But anyway, I've got it in text. Charles, is that okay if I put it in the chat? Yeah, let me put it in the chat here. Because now this is, I don't know exactly what the dream means, but it is it's an unusual dream, but let's just talk about it. I mean, it's the thing is, let me just put it this way, that right now I'm a little fuzzy on what it means, but that doesn't detract from the fact that it is an amazing dream. And I really am very impressed with the dream itself. And it's just a very good dream. I mean, not a very good dream, but every part of it is very surprising, I mean, it's just very surprising. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Roy, Nick, is from near Miami, and Dawn is from Maryland, and Kat is from the UK. Charles is in St. Louis. Let me see. I'm in deepest, darkest Iowa. I'm hoping I'm not going to be a lifer here, but whatever. Okay, we're in a very large. Yeah. We're we're just we do have some pretty. Anyway, we'll just keep moving. I'm gonna let me see. How did that end? This one here. You're in a library, and there's no one inside. Okay, there we go. All right. I'm in a library and there's no one around. It's just nice to have a little text to read here. Okay. Copy. Over here. Text. Okay. I have to do one more. Okay. All right, let me see. How did that one end? No, it says the scene changes and the two boys are nearby. Scene changes. Oh, and me and the two boys are nearby. Okay. There. Okay, I think I got it all. Okay. Now, Charles, did you just want to read it again here for us? Because it's, let me see. Yeah. Okay, here it is.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm on my way to Minnesota and I'm going north. I don't know if I'm actually going to Minnesota or if it's just the dream's way of indicating that I'm going north. I find myself traveling by car and I had to go up. Find myself at the top of this very, very tall, spiraling corkscrew road. It takes me really high up and allows me to cross a bridge over to what looks like Canada. But it's very, very strange. It looks like I'm actually just crossing a giant map of the United States and not actual real Earth. When I look down, I see a map, not actual grass or land. But at the top of this giant spiraling road, it seems like there's a really big traffic jam and everyone is going back down the spiral and not crossing the bridge going north. It seems like maybe the bridge had been closed for a time, but it looks totally clear to me. So I decided to go ahead and cross the bridge going north. And I actually have an illustration of exactly what this looks
Great.
like.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do speaker view, everybody, so you can see it here. Speaker view. Okay.
Well, I'll show it again after reading.
Yeah. All right. Sure. Yeah.
So going north to Minnesota, I decided to cross a bridge, and next thing I know, I'm there and I'm inside what looks like a very large library, and there's no one around except a bunch of really old, pale white women, and it looked like they all had curled hair, like a perm. All of them looked almost identical, and they're kind of wandering around the library doing things. I think, this is Minnesota? This is what Minnesota is like? It's very strange. I'm going through the library, noticing all the books and things. There's two boys that I meet there that I become friends with. One of them is kind of like a magical rag doll. He's a doll, but he can talk and can move and can think and act on his own. And we become good friends. We are taking turn reading the same book. We did this to a few books. He'll read it and I'll read it, but there's only one sentence in the book that we can read. The rest is all gibberish. And we'll go to the one sentence and he'll ask me, did it say this? And I say, no, it says this now. The one sentence that we can read keeps changing all the time. This is all we do. It's kind of like a game we were playing. And the scene changes and me and the two boys are nearby some machines. There's one in front of each of them. The main part of the machine reminds me of like an old sewing machine that you have to pump. It was turning really fast and the ragdoll boy got caught in it, chewing him up and spitting him out, and the threads and the fabric and the cotton were shooting everywhere. This kind of happened like a cinematic slow motion. The scene changes again, and me and the other boy are at the ragdoll boy's house, right in front of the front door, where we meet with his father to tell him the ragdoll boy had died. And his father, in a comical way, just says, "Leave me alone, I'm drunk." And it was comical to me when I recalled the dream, and it was just the way he said it. But yeah, that is a dream, and I'll show that illustration of the first part.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, you can see the spiral, and all the cars are heading back down, and all the ground just looks like those kind of maps you'd see in a grade school, where each state is kind of colored a different kind of pastel color. It was Minnesota, and the orange is Canada. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, great. I'm going to, hi, Azine. Let me just put it in the chat one more time here, just so we have it. So Azine, you can read it, because I kind of typed it out.
This is his dream from last time, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, I'll put it in the chat though, because there's some really interesting details, but maybe I can just go through them and re-emphasize them. I'm not very good at putting things in chat. And by the way, Azine is from currently Sacramento. She's an analyst, and Nick here is somebody I met in North Carolina at a Jeffrey Raff seminar. Okay, so let's just go through it. Now we are going north. We're going to Minnesota, and now we don't know if we're actually going to Minnesota. It's just a way of the dream indicating that I'm going north. And this is Azine mentioned that that sort of like is a magnetic pole. You know, I mean, it is. Well, how did you describe it, Azine? What was your take on that? Going north?
I said true north and inner campus.
Yes, and it's sort of like the North Star too, or the orienting yourself. You know, this is an idea of orienting yourself. I mean, you're orienting yourself by the compass needle that always goes in the same way. So you're somewhat, but anyway, you're going north, and it's we're traveling car, and we have to go up. So it's an ascent. You know, going to a different level. You know, it doesn't have to be necessarily spiritual or logos or anything, but we're just going to a different level. We'd think it would be. I find myself at the top of a very, very tall, and Charles mentioned like about 10,000 feet for almost 2 miles or something, but it's a corkscrew road that just keeps going up and up. So you're spiraling on like a staircase, but it's a road that's going up. Now, all of these images are just surprising. Okay, now when you're at this very high vantage point, it allows you to cross a bridge into what looks like Canada. So you're crossing a bridge. You know, the bridge, I cross bridges all the time in dreams. You know, and in an active imaginations too. And what it usually means to me is that I have left the conscious attitude and went to a different attitude. But there's some clues here, because it doesn't look like we're actually crossing real Earth. We're crossing a map of the United States. So now I have had this happen too. You know, where I'm looking at a war is occurring, but it's on a Risk. I don't know if you heard that game called Risk. It's just a map, and you know, it's sort of a world domination game, but it's just on a map. You know, and I see that in my dream. So it's very interesting images, all of these. Hi, Gary. Charles, while I'm doing that, could you re-put that chat in for Gary, because Gary loves to have
Sure.
text. Yeah. Anyway, so we're now when we look at, so we don't see Earth, we don't see grass or land, we see just say the different areas are highlighted and colored, you know, so it's different aspects of you know, it's just boundary lines and territories. So now it looked like the bridge, and if you've ever been in Minnesota, this actually happens. Everybody's coming one way, nobody's going on the other way. Now, see, this is what would happen if you were going to north in Minnesota on a Sunday or a Monday. Everybody's coming back from the lake and going back to the cities, you know. So there's nobody going north, you know. This happens. I've seen it. I mean, there'd be an unbelievable traffic jam coming back south from the lakes. By the way, Minnesota is known as the land of 10,000 lakes. So, I mean, it is a place where there is deep, big, clear, fresh, clean lakes everywhere. And it's also a place of great forests. I mean, the Boundary Waters canoe area is just thousands of acres of wilderness, you know, and you know, that, so it's always been a mysterious place for me, as Canada is, because it's complete wilderness. Okay, now so we're crossing the bridge going into north to Minnesota. Now suddenly we're inside Minnesota, but Minnesota's a strange place. It's a very large library, and there's no one around except a bunch of really old, pale, white women that all have curly hair like a perm, you know. I just let me see if I can get this thing. I'm just going to show you a example. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that, but can you see that? I don't know.
That's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah, everywhere, and they all look almost identical, you know, and so it's full of the feminine, but the feminine is very ancient, or you know, venerable, you could put, and it is also has you know, looks like it never goes outside. They are in the library all the time. They don't ever go out into nature. They're sort of sun deprived, you know, and their hair is very affected. You know, it's not natural. You know, so then we're very surprised. This is Minnesota. This is what it looks like. So strange. So now we're going through the library, noticing all the books and things, and there's two boys there that I meet and become friends with. So these are appear a lot in Charles' dream. They seem like the helpful companions more than a shadow figure, but we don't know about the ragdoll boy yet. So one of them is like a magical ragdoll. He's a doll, but I loved how Charles put this. He can talk, he can move, he can think, he can act on his own. And we become good friends. Now this is so mysterious. All of these images are mysterious, but you're looking at a book and there is it's just all gibberish except one magical transforming sentence. And you go back and forth. And this is with several books, not just this one. He reads it and says, did it say this? And then Charles says, no, now it says this. So it's sort of, you know, a strange communication, strange linking of us and the ragdoll boy through this transforming sentence. You know, I mean, there's an aspect of the sentence that he sees is not the sentence that you see. Now, this almost seems mythological or mythical, that everyone who sees it sees something different, you know, and this is all we do. But now the scene changes, and Charles and the two boys are by some old machines, ancient machines. And there's one in front of each of them. And my grandmother had one of these, you know, it's an old sewing machine that you just pump. You know, it works really well. It works just like any sewing machine you have today, except it's not electric. But I mean, it's just got the zzz, you know, like that, and can do anything you want. The main part of this, well, it's turning really fast, and the ragdoll boy gets caught up in it. And you know, as soon as he mentioned the sewing machine, I knew what was going to happen before he even said it. You know, that it took him, chewed him up, spit him out. Fabric and threads are going everywhere, and it happened in slow motion. Now the scene changes again, and the other boy and Charles are at the ragdoll boy's house right in front of the door, where you're meeting his father to tell him that the ragdoll boy had died. And his father, in a comical way, says, "Leave me alone, I'm drunk." Just the way he says it makes him laugh, and he seems not to care or want to be bothered. Now, where we left it right last time is this strange relationship between the father and the ragdoll boy, the strange relationship between the ragdoll boy and Charles. And Charles had an active imagination going at one point with a child who was represented by a doll. But I mean, it was sort of an active, a way of making the active imagination more real. And so it's now it could be two things. And one is it could be the infantile aspect of Charles has died. But Charles, I think last time, said that the ragdoll boy, now this cannot be discounted. Charles said last time that the ragdoll boy is numinous for him. Is that right, Charles? Can you describe your
yeah,
feelings
I would say
about
like
that?
numinous, and there's a lot of emotional energy attached to the ragdoll boy, and a lot of a deep sense of caring about him.
And if anybody tells you that that's not, you will follow the ragdoll boy before you follow anyone else. There's an aspect of it. Okay, Roy, you're bursting. Go ahead.
Oh man, I'm glad he told me that, because last week he just poo-pooed the ragdoll boy like it was some sort of infantile thing he's supposed to shed. And let me emphasize my point again. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else gets it. I get it. It's in my life. I met people that got it. This is Donald Cowshed, trauma of the soul. That ragdoll boy is little boy. It's his the real child, the personal spirit, and they're enjoying each other. And the other boy is the evil twin. Oh boy, Charles is getting close. He's getting hot to the trauma. You know, where he hit the reef, where he crashed on the rocks. He's getting close. The evil twin can't stand it. He throws it into the sewing machine wheel, shreds it all up, and the feeling of Charles disappears. I mean, this is a tragedy, but he can't even feel. And then he takes him to the father and said, "Now look at your father." And there's no feeling. And he numbs Charles and takes him away from that moment. He was so close. I just had to say it.
It's very, now just Charles, the wound that Charles has suffered seems to be, and you, Charles, you tell me this, but it's just my sort of feeling, is that the way it is healed is by you nurturing some young aspect in the way that you deserve to be nurtured but weren't yourself. I mean, it just seems like there is an intense longing, Charles, in you to be a loving parent, you know, and I think that has something to do with the fact that you really didn't have that much the way you deserved it when you were growing up. But anyway, Nick, do you see any, what is if you had a dream like this, what would you, what would be most important to you? What's most surprising, you know, whatever.
Yeah, so two things really stand out for me. The first thing is that the land over which Charles, over which Charles in the dream is traveling is a map and not the real territory. I can't remember whose notion this is, but it makes me think of the notion of confusing the map with the territory. And there being this trading the concept for reality or something to that effect, which is quite interesting, because then again, seems like there's kind of an element of that in the relationship with the ragdoll. And you know, this could be way off base, but I'll just go ahead and put it on the table. The thing that's coming up for me with the ragdoll is thinking of characters like Pinocchio or the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz, and this notion of lacking some real quality, and the communication that the dreamer and the ragdoll attempt to have with one another just seems to fall short each time. And it seems like there's a transformation or a transformative element to that, of making this ragdoll child real versus a concept or something like that. So those are the immediate things that come up for me. I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Craig.
I do it for the barking dogs. The analogy between the unreality of the map compared to the Earth and the ragdoll boy are very interesting. Now, the other aspect is this magical moment of reading the book and having the sentence look one way for the ragdoll boy, another one for us. We have this magical experience, this sort of bonding. And then the next thing, the ragdoll boy is just obliterated, you know,
Yeah.
after that. That's very strange. And then the fact that the father aspect could care less. I mean, you have this wonderful magical moment. You have this crazy just obliteration, and then the rejection of the father, the rejection of the father. So those are powerful images. Azine, what do you how do you look at this?
I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute.
Oh, that's okay. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I was this time I was thinking about the ragdoll too. I also think it's a part of the ego that has been traumatized, kind of vulnerable child, part of his vulnerability. Yeah. Nothing new, just this one.
Yeah, it'd be like the little boys, you know. I mean, these are the wounded parts of Charles. You know, the fact that how is the ragdoll boy being spit up and chewed out? How is that related to Charles' own childhood? You know, I mean, his own spirit and his own experience of growing up a little bit. I don't know. Like you said,
I think
it might
it's
be
coming from a very deep place, like this bridge that is going. Before I see the drawing, I had a completely different image, that it was like a couple of circles and the bridge would continue in a straight way. But this is like this helix that goes really, really deep within.
Remember, all of this occurs on the other side of the bridge in this magical land of 10,000 lakes, and in the strange place of the venerable women who never leave the place of learning. And you know, when we're looking at the books, we're in the place of learning too. So it's this sort of Minnesota is the place of learning. This is Minnesota, you know. And it seems to be like this place of of there is something to learn. And who do we find there? The two children, one rag doll, one regular boy. I mean, and that was something we're wondering, what does it mean? Well, I think Azine kind of summed it up, that it's probably, and Roy, that it's somewhat of a traumatic aspect of
in
remnant.
general, I wanna say something in general, that the dreamer's reaction to what happens in the dream is really important.
Yeah.
Whether they react or how they react. Is it a sophisticated, functional thing, or it's just a silly reaction, or immature, or is it this response, or is it how alive is this ego, dream ego is within the dream? You know, how active and alive.
It doesn't
So
seem
it's
to
really,
be.
it's really a reflection of our ego, our consciousness. And if we are capable of integrating with the unconscious elements, or we still are not. Like if something comes into the dream and distracts you completely, you have a storyline and something comes in and you're completely distracted, and you let go of the story, somehow you're distracted.
Does the dream ego act the way it should have acted?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I mean, it seems like at the end, I mean, you know, like, Charles, do you remember when the snake swallowed the homunculus or something? And at the same time, you're talking with someone on the phone, arguing about a medical bill. Was that the same dream?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this aspect of that, this wonderful image is there's something is happening, and somehow the dream ego, like, is it reacting the way it should? And remember, it's not you, it's the dream ego reacting this way. Gary, what do you think?
Boy, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. So is going over the bridge, and that, you know, the symbol aspect of that it's a map, and that, you know, it's images, it's not the real thing. You know what, it feels so much like going into the unconscious. And then the communications with the rag doll are, you know, they're very difficult. You know, he feels very close to it, but it's very difficult. You know, they see the same line and yet they interpret it differently. And that's like, and that's because they're in different mental worlds, you know, and the subconscious is in this metaphorical, you know, symbolic, image-based world. And the ego is in the logos, you know, the intellect, the and so, you know, I think that's part of the problem of the communication. But that whole part where, you know, he gets, and I take it that, you know, that Roy kind of ad-libbed that the evil twin threw the one rag doll into the machine, because that's not actually in the dream. But, you know, it does make you wonder. I mean, wow. You know, so I don't know, you know, we've had a lot of good input in this. I'm not sure that I can really add much, but, you know, it just really feels that trip into Minnesota, where everyone else is coming back, you know, it's like things are, you know, it's like it's not real populated there. And what is populated in the library is, you know, it doesn't have, you know, that aliveness that you might hope for. And then, you know, with the rag doll, there's this closeness and this, you know, intent, and they're, you know, they're working on the communication. But I think the reason that the communication isn't there is just that, first off, it's a difficult communication, and secondly, you know, it's two completely different worldviews. So that's all I have.
One thing I want to say is this, is that what Nicholas mentioned and you mentioned too, Gary, is the bloodlessness of the map, the bloodlessness of the ragdoll boy, and then the almost lack of reaction after he's hi Tim. I think you know Nick and here probably. Nick's joining.
Yep, I know.
We're just, yeah, okay. Yeah, we're just finishing up a Charles Dream where he goes north on a corkscrew road that goes way, way high. He looks down, it looks like a map, and he crosses a bridge, goes into the north, which is either Canada or Minnesota or something. So he's on the other side. That's an important image too. All of this happens on the other side. Meet the ragdoll boy, go to the, then he finds out what Minnesota is. It's a library with a bunch of old women with perms, you know, wandering about. But then he meets a ragdoll boy and a regular boy. And then they read a book back and forth. And each time there's only one sentence in it that's legible. And the ragdoll boy reads it, said, did it say this? And then Charles says, no, it didn't. And so they're reading the book and it's completely different. All this is occurring on the other side of the bridge in Minnesota, in the place of learning, in the library. And then the scene changes. They are standing in front of the real boy and the ragdoll boy are standing in front of a machine, like it's an old pump sewing machine. And the wheel on the ragdoll boy is going really fast. He gets caught in it and just gets ripped to threads, you know. And then they go to tell the father, the ragdoll boy, that their boy had died. And he just says, leave me alone, I'm drunk. And Charles thinks that this is funny, just the way he says it. But I would just say the fact that we look down from here, we don't see the earth, we see this map. It's not a real earth, it's a map. And then the ragdoll boy is not a real boy. And then our reactions to it are a little seemingly reminiscent of the map and the ragdoll boy. But on the other hand, for Charles, the ragdoll boy is almost divine. There's an aspect of the ragdoll boy that is godlike, you know, in him. Now, Kat, what I just wanted to say before you start, Kat, I mean, I really enjoyed Zine's commentary, but in that session on Sunday. But the one thing I liked about you and Aline is that you gave your own interpretations to the fairy tale, not von Franz's, and what it meant to you, and that was very meaningful to me. But go ahead, Kat.
Bless you, Craig. Just in response to that, I think because of all the sort of technical language, it just goes over my head.
Yes.
You know, she's wonderful, but it's just like, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, but this is what I think. So again, Charles, I love this tree. I just think it's wonderful. Right, so that's what we got here. So a map is a symbolic representation of a land or an area. And so therefore the journey is symbolic for me. Okay, this is all my stuff, so you know, it's not, yeah. So the thing that made me the thing that interested me, he was going up a corkscrew road, tall spiral corkscrew road, but then I couldn't help but when you emphasized the ladies in the library, their curled hair, and I thought of a corkscrew perm. So something to do with perhaps the head, the intellect, the fact that in the library, I still feel that those ladies had some sort of fate quality to it, in the fact that places of a library, there's references, there's archives, there's restricted sections in library, perhaps the guardians of knowledge. You can take out books, they get stamped. Also, you get fined if you don't return them back on time, things like that. The sewing machine, I thought of an old one where it's powered by the feet. So to me, that means like so you're using your feet. So the soul is perhaps pressing, creating some form of momentum for this, you know, destruction of the ragdoll boy for whatever reason. And you and the other boy went and informed the father of the ragdoll's boy's death. So you gave the bad news, and the father was not bothered, he was drunk. But I truly feel in some ways it's, again, it's, for me, it's a very transformative thing. And the fact that the other friend is a constant. I mean, I didn't get any evil twin malarkey, but I did get a friendship, a triad, a trio. And one of the boys was, perhaps it felt less engaged than the ragdoll boy, but then he was with you to deliver the bad news. And I wonder if, in fact, doing active imagination with the other boy is also an outlet for more information and healing as a way forward, or more understanding. And that's my take on it.
Pat, you have a wonderful feeling function. I'll just say that. I mean, you have a way of absorbing this that is not accessible to me. I'll say that. But anyway, the symbolic journey, the fact that it's a map, that the map is symbolic, and we're going over the bridge into that other area, and that the ragdoll boy is divine. The other boy doesn't seem, we don't know much about the other boy. But now let's just even say this. Is the father evil, or is he just apathetic? I mean, he's basically just seems like he doesn't care whether he's drunk or not, you know.
It just feels like, to me, somebody that's like in escapism, hopelessness, you know, it just feels like a you know, loss of dreams kind of experience around the person. It doesn't necessarily feel evil. It just feels like somebody, again, that's hasn't functioned or to fully. I mean, that's what it's to me, but you know, it's Charles's dream, so.
We want to hear from Charles now, but I want to say one thing about this dream is it's very cryptic and mysterious. Each image is cryptic and mysterious, and yet it resonates like hell. I mean, every one of them is very resonant. Tim, did you, before we went to Charles, do you have any just impressions about the odd images? And I mean, because they're wonderful images, but
yeah,
you know what they mean. It's so cryptic, you know.
It's really fascinating. It's such a great combination of things. The first thing that pokes out for me is the possibility that the spiral road is about individuation. Yeah. That this is a journey that you have to take by yourself, and everybody else gets to the top and has to turn around. They can't make the crossing into the other realm. And it seems to me that Canada, at least for me, symbolizes something that is a little bit unattainable and more responsive. more connected to the earth, kind of more responsible as a culture than the U.S. And I don't know how Charles feels about that, but to me, there's a different realm on the other side of the bridge, and I'm chewing on the idea of the library and these old white women with the curly hair. I'm not sure what that symbolizes, and that's about all I got through so far. So, gosh, it's really fascinating. We should chew on this for a while.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
come back
you
to it.
could really. This is the kind of what the woman looked like. Probably even a little older looking than that one. But the
That image is dang near 100% accurate. Like,
yeah, I had someone. I bought a pizza a couple days ago, and somebody said, "You got those pizzas ready?" And they said, "Yeah." "You mean for that old guy?" And she says, "Shh, he's standing right here." So I'm old, so old people mean different to me. But anyway, it's just one of the things that Tim said that I think is very important. There's just this image that everyone is turned back except for you. So this place here is meant only for Charles, and I think that the people coming back are meaning that this is the only one that can be let in is Charles.
Well, one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, please.
I really like this image of the book. Only one sentence is readable and it keeps changing. And to me, that is such a rich symbol. It almost makes me want to, do a little film about that or something. Because isn't it true that every time we go to a great work, there's something new in it? And this ragdoll figure is a kind of visitor from another realm that is unreal, but we have an intimate relationship with, and then is destroyed by the machine. And there's something about that just makes me love that little figure. Like there's a part of me that is destroyed by the machine, and it's that part that helps me to understand the way things work in the world, helps me read that book.
Remember, he's destroyed by the machine that made him. That thing of the changing image, it just seems so familiar, and it sort of reminds me of that sentence that just appeared on the wall in Nebuchadnezzar's feast. It says, "Many tekel up Harrison," or whatever. I can't remember what it said, but it's just this magical sentence. So these sentences seem to be something to do with the divine or something. Yeah, Charles, now when you describe it, you're going to bring up something that no one else thought about. So let's hear what you have to say.
Well, first thing, as I was thinking about it, just the way I worded it, like, I was like, everyone's coming up the spiral, but they don't believe that the bridge is open. And I'm like, oh, they don't believe that they can cross the bridge. They don't have any faith in the world of imagination. And so they just, I don't know what the climbing the spiral means, but they get all the way up and they don't have enough faith in imagination to, I guess the bridge is invisible to them, and they don't have enough faith to step out onto the invisible bridge and see if they fall or not. But I can see it plain as day. And so I'm going up and over. So this is to the, realm of the totally non-ego. And it's filled with living books. They change all the time. So all the books are alive, but it's not a good place for, I don't know. One thing I keep thinking is like, it's not a good place for little boys to grow up. They can't live there. I'm not really sure why they're there, but they're kind of hanging out with all these books. And the other boy doesn't say anything or do anything the entire time. He just stands there silently. So he's something that a part of the child in me that I know nothing about, I guess. I don't know. A part that has not been addressed at all. He doesn't have any energy. He's just totally static. And yeah, you know, Roy made the point that like when this tragedy happens and he's brought to the father, he's numb. He can't deal with the feeling at all. It's just pushed to the side because he's numb. And the ragdoll boy is destroyed by a piece of like work equipment. I thought to myself that I'm surprised that the ragdoll boy didn't get run over by a FedEx truck. Because like, I don't know, I'm quite happy being back here now. I can remember my dreams again, and I actually have time to like fantasize and use my imagination and draw. But you know, I don't know. I think I need to like really actually produce and physically actually create things that would make the ragdoll boy happy. I think that's another thing that killed him was totally misdirection of energy, and like being that he's completely naive, he gets torn up by the world of work and being an adult. So I can't bring him there. I can't bring the ragdoll boy onto a FedEx truck. I can't bring the ragdoll boy into a kitchen. He needs his own job. And yeah, which has made me think, I've been thinking a lot about puppetry recently, and making puppets and kind of doing my own YouTube Sesame Street, you know, of course, not literally Sesame Street, but kind of making my own thing. Because so many kids today, their parents give them a smartphone and they just start watching all this absolute mind-rotting garbage on YouTube that people are making tons of money off of. And I'm like, no, there's got to be something better than this. Yeah, and those are my thoughts on the dream right now.
Well, one thing is Charles did he found the FedEx. He just did, you know, it was just sort of work and sleep, and so this dream, I believe, came to you after you came back, after you decided to go back to work in St. Louis and not have this, you know, 6 day a week, 12-hour a day job. Is that right, Charles?
Yeah, I had that dream like just 2 nights ago.
Okay. Now, one thing I'd like to mention is that that Roy and Charles kind of share a little bit of this trauma that was experienced as a child, and Roy has dealt with it in a very unique manner. Roy, did you have any final thoughts on this? Because I think you are at a different place than Charles, but you have shared a somewhat similar experience.
Yeah, I feel like I'm that invisible bridge, but
Yeah.
Charles can see it. I mean, this ragdoll boy is like the self. It's the soul. it's psyche, it's the personal spirit. The reason the other boy, he doesn't know it is because it's the daemon. He doesn't want Charles to know him, that he can't manipulate him if Charles finds out his name. And Charles is right on. The ragdoll boy isn't ready for FedEx or kitchen work. Charles has to raise him up. The ragdoll boy and Charles have great dialogue. They can do this because they can communicate. But the other world gets in and makes Charles think, well, this is right or that's right. But even though he doesn't understand it, the world all agrees that, oh yeah, this is what you're supposed to do. But that's not the way it is at all. What you're supposed to do is get in touch with a little girl or little boy, not the evil one, where they become numinous. It becomes a delight. They become magical, and you're playing. That's what you're supposed to do, and then go from there.
Yeah, I just think too that the just based on what you were saying, that the ragdoll boy and Charles were doing something that the warmest part of the dream was this almost little divine play that they were doing, of reading these voices of God, I think, really, in the book, back and forth to each other. You know, that was the warmest part of the dream. Now, the fact that after that happened, this divine aspect in Charles, maybe it was a symbol that the FedEx was going to obliterate the divine boy in Charles. You know, just tear him up in slow motion, just be destroyed. You know, and then this strange image of the sort of the absent father. I mean, this is sort of a image, Charles, that I don't know if he's really absent, or how would you describe him, the father?
Oh, in this dream?
Yeah, just apathetic, unengaged.
Oblivion.
Yeah, in oblivion too.
Yeah.
Right. Oblivious. Okay, well, Nick or Azine or Tim or Gary, do you have any final comments?
Yeah,
go ahead, Nick.
I'd like to make one comment, or just a recommendation. Charles Robert Johnson has a really wonderful book titled Inner Work, in which he outlines a 4-step process for working with your own dreams. But the 4th step in his process, he calls it ritualizing the dream, or doing a ritual with the dream. And what he loosely means is just finding some way to take it from the abstract or the conceptual into the concrete and doing something with it. That might be a really good resource for figuring out how you could work with the ragdoll, even if it's just making a ragdoll, doing a Sesame Street-like thing, or what have you.
I think Charles is pretty familiar with that book, really, aren't you,
great,
Charles?
great.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't read too much of it, but
yeah,
yeah, it's on the next book I'm going to read.
That image that Nick mentioned of the ritualization is the one people never do. You know, it's the one that is the most important, but it's the one that and you don't find this in many books other than I haven't found it except in Robert Johnson. You know, you have to go perform a ceremony of thanks to that, a ritualized thing of thanks. You know, there's the famous one, I've told this before, where he wants the Benedictine monk to do something, and he says, "What do you want me to do now?" And he says, "Go look at the bark of 10 trees." You know, and he does, and it is totally transformative when it was connected with the dream. Azine or Kat or Tim or Gary, any other comments?
Well, you know, it's funny. I think there's a common theme going on here, because Azine had put in the chat, you know, do an active imagination with that boy. And I think I'd just like to emphasize that, you know, and it's just, you know, you just need to create the image, you know, and then feel into it, where you feel like you've embodied the rag boy, and then let them speak, and then speak back. I mean, it doesn't take much, but you could get probably a lot more out of that than anything we've done here.
I meant the silent boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI is
either
the
one,
silent
both.
boy. Yeah, but the ragdoll boy, I suggested to make a doll for grounding. But usually with the elements in the dream or active imagination that they are not animated, there's not a lot of energy flow into this figure. It's not a bad idea to talk to them, ask them questions, and kind of enlever, make them alive by the process of active imagination.
Well, there was some discussion last time of how Pinocchio came to be a real boy. You know, what did he do? Did he save Geppetto, or I can't remember. What did he do?
Yeah, he saved Gaspetto, or whatever his name is. He saved him. He got swallowed by a whale.
Oh, yes.
And then Pinocchio, eventually, the cricket is Pinocchio's conscience. And eventually, Pinocchio dove into the sea, you know, to go save his father. And he was able to do it. And the whale got really upset. And so Pinocchio sacrificed his life to save his father. He was going to re-swallow his father. And because of that, because Pinocchio, who is almost like a robot or an inanimate thing, because he did such a great human thing, such a sacrifice, the angels or God or whatever gave him life as a real boy. I mean, it's a beautiful story. Just gives me the chills.
Yeah, it does, because I think there's an aspect of here that there is a ragdoll boy in Charles that needs to, like Pinocchio, become a real boy. You know?
He's got to save his father.
Yes.
He can do it. He can do it, but he's got to get in touch with his feelings. He's got to redeem his father.
Yeah, this is something Von Franz says, that the wounded in all of us need to redeem a parent or something for something to happen. So there's this strange relationship with Charles, and I think the idea of how Charles has hinted at this for ever since I've known him, that the way he's going to redeem his father is by being the loving parent to his child, and to make his child turn from a rag doll, which he felt like, into a living Pinocchio boy, you know. So I think, what do you guys think? I mean, that's seems like a clue. Does that resonate with you, Charles? Yeah, go ahead, Izzy.
First of all, one thing that is important is that we might be traumatized, wounded, but that's just one of the child's energies. So the vulnerable child is one of the aspects of our the child energy. The magical child or other figures. So it's important that it's a part of us that is wounded. And the second thing, I want to emphasize on grounding. I think grounding is makes the difference between Jungian approach and Freudian approach, because Freudian approach is all about trauma and analysis and labeling, and this represents this is me. I'm trying to find a meaning for the dream. But Jungian approach, especially after Hillman, is more about interacting with the imaginal. Whatever unconscious element is our dream, is in our dream or in active imagination, we don't want to kill them, but by labeling them and limiting their energy, we want to interact with them, make them more alive, and just reminding ourselves that there are layers and layers and layers of meaning that they can be revealed throughout 20 years. So grounding is something that I think brings the real healing. You can talk about the wound and how you should approach the wound, what you should do, and just talking about it for years. But what heals the wound is that creating something that comes out of the wound. Or what's the difference of my life before and after this dream? You know, that's being grateful to unconscious. When I change something in my daily life, like Charles says, I'm going to do this on YouTube. That's fantastic. That's perfect grounding, because something is changing in your life, or you have this doll and you embrace it, or you just interact with it, talk to it. This is very Jungian, you know, but just thinking about the dream and just trying to figure out what was the message. If you work with unconscious a lot, it's a kind of animal for itself, you know, and it doesn't really care about messages. It's about being. It's a being with its own energies, and it's interacting with us. It's like a person, you know. It's like a person. You can name somebody, but you cannot define this person that this is that. I'm learning this from this person. You really interact with this person throughout years, and they get to know each other. So
not two-dimensional, it's alive. It possesses all four functions too.
yeah.
I mean, so there's a completeness to it that doesn't exist. But I want to mention what you said, Azine, which is very interesting to me, the changing aspect of the dream. I just want to tell you my little intimation of how this happens. We don't really know what happened, you know, but we bring it in. You know what Jung, here, I'll just tell you what Jung says. He says, you take a dream and you draw it and you color it and you put all kinds of colors in it. He says, after you've done that, you will never be the same person. Now, what changed? Nothing, other than the fact that you made that image concrete and it changed you forever. That little exercise. The drawing is an act of imagination. It's a wordless one, but it's definitely impactful. Okay. Now he says, not only will that change you forever, you know, but the next dream will respond to what you've done. So it's leading somewhere. It's leading somewhere. You've changed. The dream, the next dream changes. It's going somewhere. Now, where's it going? You know, what Joseph Campbell says, not even God knows, you know.
I was just talking to one of my professors in Pacifica. I was sharing with her what I'm recently working on with complexity thinking. And it's this vessel, alchemical vessel that you build in the space between the two opposites. And it's a not knowing space. So I was thinking that, oh, it's a new skill of thinking and I have to define it, and just, it's too complicated and I have to find ways to define it and share it with people. And then it came to my mind that, okay, it was before 17th century, people were thinking like in fairy tales. Okay, after 17th century that we feel the urge and necessity to know and label things. Okay.
For Descartes and yeah.
Yeah, before that, it's just a play. And people are okay with not knowing. People are okay with mystery. So they leave the mystery, and as Jung says, let the mystery be the mystery. So this urge in us that we have to know what this figure means or what this
So
means.
directed thinking becomes more valuable than symbolic thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And other
metaphor.
functions.
Yeah. Well, it's very wonderful. Now, I just want to mention that Kat and Dawn, we need a dream from you. I know Kat's been having some, but do either Nick or Tim have a dream that they want to start? Or Nick, you can just be an interpreter, but if you have a dream, we'll always entertain it. You want to just maybe?
I've got a huge notebook full of dreams, so if we need one, I'm happy to share one. And
Okay,
if somebody
and
else
how about
has-
you? Yes, how about you, Tim?
Same thing. I've got an
Well,
endless supply.
well, why don't we hear a Nick dream here? Since let's get to know Nick. Nick,
Okay.
do you have a dream that you feel comfortable sharing? Or
Yeah, let me flip through my pages here.
you know what I used to do? I used to take all my dreams and I put 5 for real important, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And because I'd have 20 dreams to discuss. And I was doing analysis for about 14 years. I try to take all my 5 dreams, but I probably should have taken all my 1 dreams.
I would have labeled my dream I just shared as maybe a 3, but now it's more like a
Yeah.
5 to me.
I'll tell you something, Charles. That the cryptic nature does not detract from the powerful impact of each image, which is, I guess the aspect of it is so surprising, each one, so unexpected. Okay, well, go ahead, Nick.
Okay. Forgive me if I kind of stumble through this. My handwriting is rather poor.
Sure,
So
no
if I-
problem.
If I need to read it twice, I'm happy to do
That's
so.
fine.
But from the top,
Okay.
I am going to my father's house. He tells me that my sister has been staying with him, and I find this surprising. We pass a dead dog on the road, and I think that it looks a lot like my dog, which worries me. This paired with the fact that Kayla, my sister, is also there. And it worries me that she let my dogs out of the house. We then begin moving at a faster pace. We pass a house with a few apple trees and grapevines in the yard. So I cautiously, making sure that the owners don't notice, pick a few pieces of fruit, a couple of grapes and an apple out from a briar thicket. As I bite into the apple and we go down into the valley, I hear a snake rustling beneath our feet. Or at least I think I do, and I become even more cautious. Then my father starts talking about an uptick in Messiah figures in the past years and months. But I ask him, who is he to deny that one among them may be the Messiah? Once we are almost in the valley, the group of people with me change. Now there is a man who looks like Jesus, who takes his shirt off to reveal his ameliorated body. He is cloaked by and glowing with sunlight. His hair is very long. I think we look very much alike when I used to have very long hair. Once we reach the bottom of the valley, we see that buildings are being built along the valley, and Jesus has something to do with it. The building is in the early phases, and only the frames and structural pieces are in place, though the structure is very much in place. From there, we continue on, but we have a young woman with us and a somewhat reserved man. I seem to be Jesus now in the dream. The young woman and I get onto a bike and begin pushing uphill. but we have some difficulty getting her onto the bike while I push. Let's see here. Let me discern what this says. Oh, she sees a ledge inside of a small cave on the left side of the road. So she goes up into it and jumps to slide down. I congratulate her on a fun and adventurous jump, but the other man is concerned for her and somewhat restrictive. We go to the bottom of the dirt hill and speak with her. She turns her arm around to reveal she has a large cut, which once she noticed, then gives her pain. While we are still somewhat in the cave, below a group of authority figures approach, and the restrictive man is concerned, but I feel no concern as we aren't doing anything illegal. I then mess with my license and my wallet, putting it from the billfold to the ID slip again. And that's the end of that dream.
Oh, great. I'll go through it real quickly. And so we could just, I mean, everybody just gonna have a few comments because we're not gonna be able to go to it. But you go to your father's house, is that what, sorry,
Mhm.
yeah. And your sister is staying there, which surprises you.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
yeah, and then on the way there, you pass an instinctive aspect, a dead dog, you know, but it's dead. It's an instinctive aspect that's dead. And this worries us because it looks a lot like our dog. Well, that doesn't seem like a coincidence, you know. And we are also worried that our sister Kayla did not restrain our dogs. So maybe this is our dog and it is dead because it looks a lot like our dog. So this instinctive aspect in us, there's a possibility that it's dead, you know. Now you move faster and you move by the rooted things that produce fruit. And did you know who these people were? Yeah.
No,
No.
it's interesting. The scene is very much a scene from my personal life on the way to my father's house, and it's just before you go through a very deep valley.
Yeah.
And his house is on the other side of that valley. So it was just a house on the left side of the road, right as you begin to go down into the valley. I don't know the owners, just had the impression that they probably didn't want us to be taking their fruit.
Yeah, there's several moments here of tension and anxiety, you know, just sort of a tension, anxiety aspect. But I mean, we go in and we pick the apple tree and the grape, pick some fruit, and we bite into it. And then what was that you hear something? What did you hear?
Let's see here. I think we eat the fruit, and as I bite into the apple, we go down into the valley, and I hear a snake rustling beneath.
A snake, yes. And so you're worried about the snake, that it might be poisonous. Is that right? Or
I think that would stand to reason, although that's not a detail that I have written down in the dream.
But what did you say about the snake that you were?
I never see the snake. I just
but you hear
something rustling in the leaves beneath us as we're walking, and I have the impression that it's a snake.
What, are you worried about it, or?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, now.
Yeah, because after that we become even more cautious. So yeah.
All right. So now you're in the valley, or you're at your father's house or anything, and he is noting the uptick in messiahs lately. Now, you know, the Messiah is really, you know, in alchemy, we're supposed to be our own redeemer. But there's this in Christianity, there is a redeemer. But I guess what does redemption mean, really? is an interesting question. And what is the Messiah's real function? You know, I mean, the whole idea of the Messiah, how does he function in our own personal lives? It's an interesting question. And now we ask the Father, now how do you, now this is an important question for later. Who is he to deny that one's the Messiah? Because it turns out we are. Now, so you go into the valley and you see a man who looks like the Messiah. He takes off his shirt and his body is ameliorated. What's that mean? Is it wounded?
I mean, he just looked extremely unwell and kind of sickly. I mean, almost like depictions of Christ on the cross.
Yeah, very sickly. Okay, and now in this valley, so there's many houses coming into being, and this seems to be the work of this Messiah who's sick, but it's differentiating, or you know, it's filling up with contents, Messiah type contents. And then we find out, I'm going to go through real quick. We find out that we meet a woman and a man who's very reserved. Now this is interesting because there seems to be this aspect of why is this man so reserved? And we ascend on a bicycle with this anima figure, and we are Jesus now, right? Mm-hmm. We become the Messiah. So again, what is a Messiah? What is it? Let's just describe it psychologically, not what does it mean? So then she sees a ledge in a small cave. She goes into it, and she goes down the ledge or slides down it or something. Is that
yeah?
What
I mean, it was like there was a short dirt slide just in front of that where dirt would have been falling from the cave and cliffs, and she goes up to the ledge and just kind of playfully jumps and slides down through the dirt.
And she's very athletic. But then you find out that she's cut herself and she's in pain. And now, was there any more important things that I missed?
I think it's worth noting that the buildings that were being erected in the valley weren't necessarily houses. They looked more like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, maybe halls of worship or maybe something like that. I mean, they were much larger than houses. So I think that is an important detail, perhaps. And then also the ending of the dream, these kind of authority figures approach.
Come up from the cave. Or they're in the cave and they're coming up?
No, they're not in the cave. They come from the road, which would be, they come from the top of the valley down into the valley. And the reserved man kind of has a feeling that, we should be concerned. Perhaps we're doing something wrong, maybe trespassing or something like that. And I feel, no, we're okay. We're not doing anything illegal. And for whatever reason, this just seems really strange and out of place for everything in the dream, but probably important. It ends with me looking at my ID card and my wallet or my driver's license, and it's in the wrong place in my wallet. So I'm moving it back to where it belongs.
Yeah, there's that aspect here of there's ID. Now I will have this all put ready for next time to look at. But why don't we just everybody mention just what is we don't have much time, but just you can just tell us what is the most surprising image in the dream, or the one that has you the most puzzled. Let me see. I just might lose my. Charles, do you have what is the most surprising or puzzling image?
One thing that just really stands out to me is, at one point, the dreamer becomes Jesus or the Messiah, and then at the very end of the dream, he's moving his identification back to the forefront, which those two things are what stood out to me the most. That's just really interesting.
Brilliant. That's great. The ID and the fact that we became Jesus. How about you, Roy? What is really standing out as just a puzzling image in this thing?
Charles covered it for me. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, the idea we changed. We're going down there. We meet. I love the line. One it really is. There's an uptick in messiahs lately. You know, what do you think, Azim? Uptick. You know, it's like a stock
That is
market.
also what's most interesting to me. I think this dream is a deeply religious dream, and you see all the elements of the story of creation.
Yeah.
The apple, the snake.
Grape, snake. Woo! Yeah, it is a mythical sort of touching each one, and see we're sort of interacting with it. Beautiful. What do you think,
And
Gary?
I think
Go
it's
ahead,
about,
Azim. I'm sorry.
and I think it's about civilization and what we suppress. So it's a revision and just encouraging you to rethink about this myth and what has happened to humans, and try
Well,
to
that
redeem.
yeah, it is. There's a lot of interesting. How about you, Gary? What do you think is the
I
most
think
surprising?
for me, it's the woman that jumps off the ledge and then slides down, but injures herself in doing so. I mean, it's like this leap of faith into the depths. You know, and I'm like, you know, I'm just trying to figure out how that ties back into the rest of the images.
The only feminine figure, too, isn't it, Nicholas? It's the only feminine figure.
It's interesting too. You know, of course, I was kind of thinking, or I suppose I was pointed in the direction of this dream after hearing about all of the stuff said about the father in the former dream. But in the beginning of this dream, I mentioned my sister. My sister is
Kayla, yeah.
Right, but I never see her. And I think that's very strange, both in the dream and also in reality, because my sister is older, she has children, and she's very much, you know, an adult and living her own life. And so that's strange too, but it's also kind of like there's this weird kind of regressive or perhaps possessive thing with her.
The dead dog, we're gonna have to go over that too.
Yeah, certainly.
Now, Gary, you already said something, did you? Yeah, okay, Tim, now, Tim, we owe you a dream, so.
Oh, great, I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
This one's really rich, and it seems to me to be about scrutinizing identity and all of the factors that go into that. And I agree with Azim, there's all this real deep archetypal stuff. One of the images that pokes out to me is you're reaching through the briars and pull out apple and grape. One is the forbidden fruit, and the other is the salvation fruit.
Dionysian or something.
Yeah, but it's also the fruit of the communion.
Yes, the wine.
Yeah.
The fruit of the this is my blood drink, you know, whatever.
Right, right. And so all of that stuff is brought together in this one pretty remarkable story. I think we're gonna have to chew on this and come back to it.
Roy's got a very interesting comment. But I'm going to read it. But Kat and Dawn, could you put in what was the most surprising element to you? But Kat, let's hear what is strikes you immediately when you hear this.
For me, it was the eating of the apple. You know, from a place where you really shouldn't, sort of thing. I think, did you say there was, Nick, that it was something about the neighbour's garden or something that provided the apple tree?
Yeah, essentially, it was the situation was that I was walking past a neighbor's yard, and in their yard they had apple trees, and grapevines.
So it's
But there
interesting.
was a certain kind of transgressive element in me taking the fruit, because I just had the feeling that, you know, we need to make sure not to be detected doing this.
Yeah, not taking something you shouldn't, like we call it scrumping, playing scrumping. So yeah, there is that element to it, but also with the fact with the lady when she jumps down the ledge of the small cave on the other side of the road, she slides down, and she's playful, but since as she comes out or whatever this little cave, she somehow has cut her arm. So I wonder if there is, going down into the depths like that, there is like some price to be paid, whether the with blood, like some sort of sacrifice or giving of self, if you see what I mean. I didn't get the feeling of the dream that she was terribly injured. It's almost like for me, it felt like a nick. You've just nicked your arm or something. You've just noticed that it's her arm's been cut. I wonder if it's something like that. But again, it's the fact that the arm, for me, is attached to the hands, which to me is about creating, molding, giving, receiving type of thing. But those are just thoughts, sort of just
So, Pat, you're just you know, they've said of this one poet that he verses just jingled out of his shirt sleeves. I kind of get that impression sometimes with the richness that you
I've got a hip flask with me, and I keep pouring a bit of whiskey in my tea. No,
it's great. Yeah, well, I think it's about 2 a.m. there, isn't it? Something like that. 3.
Yeah, it's about 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. In UK. Well, anyway, this was a wonderful little session here. I don't know about you guys, but I love it. Charles' dream, and we'll pick up on your dream next on Monday, Nick, if you're here, or Wednesday, whenever you can make it. And Tim, if you could send me a dream that you want to work on. I just want to say about Tim's dreams, it's like a mystery novel. I never know what's coming next, but I always think that it's a seamless book. You know, it all goes together. But anyway, and then Kat, we want to hear one of your marvelous dreams, and Dawn, and then Gary or Azine and Roy has always got. You got to hear Roy dreams too. They are they're the most interesting dreams as far as they're always about deep animal gods, you know, almost like these godlike animals a lot. But anyway, great to have you here, Nick, and we'll just pick up on this on Monday then. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. I wonder, would you like me to type up the dream and send it out to
well,
everyone?
yeah, if you can. I do like a Charles dream. I just transcribed it. You know, basically what I do is I hold my speech recognition thing up to my computer, great. But it's up to you. Yeah, I can do that. Okay.
I have a vision. I will have a vision to share as well.
Okay. Yes.
And it's a very short dream.
Yeah, I would. I'd love to hear it, Azine. Azine, now do you do these? These are live visions while you're awake, right? Okay, great.
No. When I'm halfway.
In a halfway. No, yeah. And I do want to talk at some time. Gary, I think had to go, but about Gary's 4 images. But anyway, thank you, Charles and Roy and Nick and Dawn and Kat.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys all next time.
Bye, everybody.
See you.
Okay, bye, guys.